Hello. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to what is either the second to last or last video on this channel of 2024. And as we come to the end of 2024 and look forward to 2025, we also come to the end of the 50th anniversary of another great year of music. Of course, it's the end of 2024. 50 years ago, it would have been the end of 1974. Not as good as 1973, in all honesty. I do think the only year that does kind of come close to 1973 is probably 1971 or 1972, maybe 1967. But we come to but there were many great albums that came out this year. Now, I don't have as many albums physically for this video as I did for last year's 1973 video. I didn't have that many for that video either, but like last year I had 3. This year I only have 2. Again, working on filling out the collection. The first album we're going to talk about, which came out in 1974, it actually came out towards the end of 1974, in fact, celebrating its 50th anniversary just last month on November 18th, Genesis's The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Of course, this was their final album with Peter Gabriel. It is, of course, a double album, and it is a progressive rock classic. It truly is. The title track is, frankly, one of the best opening songs on any album, period. It's truly a great song. That epic piano intro followed by that epic vocal from Peter Gabriel. It's just so awesome. And whenever Phil did it on stage, he never really did it in a way that I think truly works as well as Peter Gabriel did it. You know, maybe the way he did it worked a little bit better in the middle of the song as opposed to right at the beginning, but again, just immaculate. One of the best, first sides of any Genesis album. Just, Fly on the Windshield and the Broadway Melody in 1974 are pure classics. In the Cage is amazing, and even on the rest of the album, you've got, amazing albums, or amazing songs. Back in New York City, Counting Out Time, The Carpet Crawlers, The Chamber of 32 Doors, The Colony of Slippermen, The Lamia, just beautiful, majestic, just a beautiful, majestic album. And also, I'm gonna say this real quick. It's a bit of a tangent from what we're talking about, but this also has weird parallels to The Wall, in which both are double albums, both are concept albums, both resulted in the departure of a major member. Both bands would never really be the same again afterwards. Both album covers are white, but they also both resulted in some of the greatest material in each respective band's catalog. The only difference is The Wall came out in 1979 and is frankly a better album. Like, in the overall story, like, that's the key difference. Well, not really, but like the relationships between the band members would remain positive for Genesis, not necessarily the same thing for Pink Floyd. The other album we're going to talk about that I have physically is Yes's Relayer. It has a very similar structure. No, it has pretty much the exact same structure as their album from 1972, 1972, Close to the Edge. It has the first side is one continuous song, The Gates of Beryllium, and then the second side is two songs that are, each close to 10 minutes in length, Sound Chaser and To Be Over. This album is also, another one of those entries in in Yes's catalog that saw a lineup change. Of course, Rick Wakeman left, and keyboardist Patrick Moraz joined the band. Rick Wakeman left because he wasn't super thrilled with how the recording of Tales from Topographic Oceans went. I understand why, because that album's just kind of really fucking long, and not a whole lot interesting happens for a lot of the time. Again, it should have been 4 10-minute songs as opposed to 4 20-minute songs. But this, is awesome. Patrick Moraz goes nuts on the keys, and it's truly a fun listen. Now, speaking of Rick Wakeman, he had a solo album come out in 1974, Journey to the Center of the Earth. It's a pretty decent album, I will say. Not as good as some of his others, but it's a very, very fun album. I forget a lot of the titles off the top of my head. And switching over to the American side of the Atlantic, Frank Zappa released Apostrophe, which is kind of, the sequel to Overnight Sensation, or essentially Overnight Sensation Disc 2. Both albums sound very similar. They were recorded at the same time with basically the same people. It's truly an amazing album, like the Apostrophe Suite is awesome. Don't You Eat That Yellow Snow, St. Alphonsus Pancake Breakfast. It's just, like Nanook rubs it. It's just, so good. It's a wonderful album, wonderful listen. Highly recommend it, as I also highly recommend both of these for at least a listen, if not a purchase. Pink Floyd didn't have anything come out in 1974. They were on tour. I did a video about the set list that they would play on that tour. I might link that in the description down below. I might not. I'll see. And a beautiful... also on the American side, Lynyrd Skynyrd. They released their second album called Second Helping. It contained Sweet Home Alabama and a couple other hits, following up from their, pretty good debut album. Again, that's even stepping outside of the progressive rock genre, but that album's pretty good. Sometimes, you just want to lean back and listen to some Skynyrd, and that's, that's kind of all you want when you're listening to Skynyrd. You don't necessarily want a bunch of lyrics. You don't want a concept album from Skynyrd. You just want Skynyrd. You just want, some good rockin' tunes for a little while. Now also on the American side of the ocean, but not within America's borders, Canada, Rush had their debut album come out that year, famously without Neil Peart on drums. It's a great album. It's definitely not their best album, but it has, great songs. Working Man, for example. It was, in fact, the last song Rush ever played live before the untimely passing of Neil Peart in 2020 of, I believe, prostate cancer. But again, brilliant album. Just kind of sounds a little bit too much like Led Zeppelin for me. I believe, hopping back over to Britain now, you have Bad Company come out with their first album, which is a brilliant album. I'm sure it's a band that you didn't even think was British, because they're just like, Bad Company, that famous hit, Bad Company, I can't deny. Not written by whatever. It's Def Leppard, I think, that did the cover. I don't know. The original's better anyway. But it's a pretty good album. I also highly recommend that one. Every album I talk about, I highly recommend in this that I talk about in this video. I highly recommend all of them. Queen too. Queen's second album came out in 1974. It's it's all right, I guess. Okay. Kansas, coming back over to the American side, Kansas had their debut album that year. Camel had an album come out that year. Many people had albums come out in 1974. And then jumping back over to Britain, Jethro Tull's War Child is awesome. Sea Lion is amazing. The title track is amazing. War Child, that's the days and nights away. It's so good. It's the run of Aqualung through War Child, like those 4 albums are truly, for me, that's the equivalent of, Pink Floyd's run of Dark Side of the Moon through the Wall on the Jethro Tull end. It's truly a great run of albums that I highly recommend. Also, coincidentally, the 3rd album in both of those is, technically, or, doesn't really feel as good as the other 3 to me, in all honesty. It's just, it's a beautiful album. I love it. I'm having trouble thinking here. I think I've hit pretty much every album that I wanted to talk about. Oh wait, no, never. Emerson, Lake and Palmer. They didn't release a new studio album of completely original material, but they did release a live album, a triple live album called Welcome Back, My Friends, and it's glorious. Sometimes the recording quality isn't the greatest, it's there, right? But, it essentially acts as a best of Emerson, Lake and Palmer compilation. The only thing it's really missing is a couple of songs off of Works, and even then, that might bring the quality of it down a little bit. But it's, awesome, contains a full performance of both the Carnival 9 Suite and Tarkus. It's just amazing. King Crimson. Almost forgot to mention King Crimson. King Crimson had 2 albums come out that year. Both those were Starless and Bible Black and Red. Red is the better of those albums. Red is truly a masterpiece of an album, and Red would also be their last album until 1981, when Robert Fripp decided to revive the name, when he got together with a group of musicians, some of which had played with him before, some of which hadn't. And it's, truly, 2 truly great albums, but Red really knocks it out of the park. Red knocks, Starless and Bible Black, right out of there, down to the point where, Starless and Bible Black, I guess its title track is technically the last song on Red. But it's, again, both are brilliant. Both have vocalist John Wetton. I believe both have drummer Bill Bruford, who was previously of Yes. And it's, again, brilliant albums. Highly recommend both of them, but especially Red. And I think that's going to do it for the video. Could possibly do it for the year. I'll be back either on the last day of the year or the first day of next year, the first day of 2025 with an update video. And but for now, I would like to thank you all very much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it. If you have something to add, any albums that I might have missed, please, do so in the comments section down below. I'd love to give them a read. If you want to continue along my musical journeys with me, please feel free to subscribe. If you want to hear me talk about something other than music, I have a podcast with 2 of my buddies. It's called Dorkies. I will leave a link to the most recent episode of that in the description down below. And if you want to hear what I happen to be listening to that day, or a 15-second segment at least, you can follow me on Instagram at Sean_Heaster1979. I post a 15-second segment of a song on my story there every single day. And with that, I would like to thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.